it's still really early in terms of how the market and businesses leverage independent consultants. I still find that a lot of clients I work with, they're surprised at how easy it is to work with
Mm,
me and how
yeah.
much they can get done in a short amount of time. Um, but that there's still quite a bit of disconnect in terms of helping clients think about how do you actually work with an independent consultant. Have
Mhm.
you learned anything in that regard or worked with any interesting clients who do that in an evolving way?
Well, let's see. No, I agree with you that it's still uh, early days, and I would expect it's hard to predict, but I would not be surprised if 10 or 20 years from now we're seeing a much greater percentage of work at corporations being done by a workforce that in US terms is not W2 employees. Um, uh, so in terms of what sorts of things that what are sort of the lessons learned or recommendations for companies, well, one is certainly if it's a skill that is that you're not going to need for a long term time, then really think about using an independent consultant for that instead of an employee. Um, Anything certainly uh, that doesn't require directly connecting to a lot of internal parts of a company on an ongoing basis. We're researching a new industry. We want to get a sense of how could we improve the operational efficiency of this factory. We want to, do an analysis of our org chart. Uh, Anything that could be done by a large consulting firm, in many cases, could be done by an independent consultant, particularly if the scale is appropriate. There's certainly a place for the large consulting firms where you're rolling out changes to 27 factories around the world. Yeah,
Right.
hire Deloitte, McKinsey, Carney. But if you're doing to one factory or two, then an independent might be actually much less disruptive to your organization. Um, so I'd say bring the consultant, an independent particularly, you don't have to have a separate team room for them. I'd say, bring them into the process. Uh, you can treat them as an employee, bring them into your internal meetings and so forth. The more you get them involved and closer to what's going on and explain what you're trying to accomplish, the more helpful the person's going to be. One final thought, I'm sorry, is that be thinking about not just the traditional necessarily, okay, 2 months, 5 days a week kind of structure. The nice thing in the independent world is you have a lot more flexibility. So you can say, well, what if I just get
Right.
someone a day a week for 9 months instead of 5 days a week for 2 months? You have a lot more flexibility on how you engage people.
Yeah, I think I've been talking to some companies about. I was talking to one company a couple of months ago, and they were saying we need to hire this basically a really expensive role, right? Senior
Yeah.
level. They don't really know if it's going to work. And I said, really, you should be thinking about bringing in somebody for 2 months. Have them teach you what they know, see if they fit, and then
Right.
you can level up from there. Maybe the independent doesn't want to work for you. A lot of them don't want to transition to full time, but they can help you shape and craft that role. So I think that's something that will definitely emerge as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that kind of date before you get married, sort of, contractor to permanent, check it out on both directions. It's a little bit lower risk for both sides. It's for the talent side, it's not embarrassing then if you're not getting fired. It's just you did a 3 month consulting project and you wrapped it up. It's not this life-changing thing. And for the company, they get a chance to work with a person. If they provide some value, great. If they're not perfect, that's okay. So I am seeing that. Um, and another twist on that, one that I did myself actually, was if you're thinking about hiring a permanent role, one of my earliest clients, they wanted a plant manager. The president wanted to hire me, but it was a small company. It wasn't a fit. So what I did was I sort of started acting in that role, helped clear up some of the issues with the plant, and then wrote the job description and helped hire a plant manager who ended up at a much lower salary than I would have been, and helped kind of get that role started. So sometimes the startup of a role requires a different talent level, different skill set than someone who's going to do the role.